Back up and running. All right, look at that. We're back. The audio is working. I can see the levels. I'm probably screaming through the microphone now. All right, look at this. Welcome everyone to Living. And this was like a warm up for all of us. We just got you back on the show, Frank. Everyone get back to it a little bit. So welcome everyone to Living Room Sports Talk. Here, McCauley, Zach Rothenberger, the great Dr. Frank Shannon, and I didn't stutter this time, Frank. I actually just said it with a full, I awkwardly talked about how I drove by your office for 2 months ago, and we clarified how it was September, and here we are. So now at this point we're really just talking about the show, and we got a great one lined up for everyone. And we're back on the end. Trust, much love by the way for helping us out there with the audio stuff. Dude, if this was like someone should fire me right now. Like I might fire myself from producing. It's been rough. This is like I'm hitting like 0.068 in the box right now producing over the last 4 weeks, but. Nevertheless, here we are. We got a great Thursday night show lined up. Like I said, Thursday night football. We got the Masters. I'm looking at the old leaderboard right now, and I know Zach, you got some bets out there for it, so we'll talk about that. And then, like we're saying, as we realized we had no audio, that we got the great Frank Shannon in here. There we go. Trust, yeah, we're back. The great Frank Shannon, who's our basketball aficionado, is in here to talk a little bit about college and more importantly the NBA draft, which is around the corner next week. 6 days away, Frank.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
That's right.
Interesting day for a draft, don't you think?
Nah, put it right in the middle of the week.
Put it in there. All right, I like it.
Yeah, because I'm going to be thinking about it on Monday and Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday, we're basically on the weekend, so whatever. So
Wednesday is the new Friday, I'm learning.
100%. It's also the new Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday as well.
Yeah, big day. Big day Wednesday.
Big day.
Actions Act, is playing on there, right? So it's a big day. All right, but at that point, let's get the show kicked off. A little clickbait cleanup. So Zach, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So we were talking about this before the show about the Arizona Cardinals defense, and one of their leaders, Patrick Peterson, apparently wants more referees on the field after a controversial pass interference call. Don't we hear this every week from an athlete about pass interference call, or a coach like Sean Payton, or just any coach in general about pass interference? I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to get it wrong. Don't put yourself in that situation. End of story.
Yeah.
100% agree. That's right.
Short and sweet.
There's no need
don't have to worry about it.
There's just no need there's just no need for an article about pass interference and how we need more referees.
I know
it happens every game. There's at least one call.
It's funny. It's really someone wants to write an article about we overkilled that subject last year. We don't have to go back to it.
Yeah, we've been hearing enough from the Saints about it. So
exactly.
All right, you know what? I'll go. I'll go third. It's funny. It's Frank. I don't think you had one, but I was thinking about you just because whenever I don't want to put you on the spot and ask you, but I'll pull up one I found for you, and I was thinking about this because we were talking about the lip sync, back in the old CFS days before jumping on the air. But did you happen to catch that The Weeknd is doing the Super Bowl halftime show? I feel like this is clickbait in your world.
Oh yeah, the halftime show. I don't know when the last time it was I watched the halftime show of the Super Bowl, so you might have to take control of that one because I'll be too busy eating during the halftime show. So good for The Weeknd, good for him.
Yeah, it was fun. I guess he made his big breakthrough during Uncut Gems.
There you go.
Saw that. Yeah, big thing.
Yeah, right.
It's funny because you always Here's the thing. I've learned that the halftime show for me is you're just filling up on your beers, your nachos, whatever you do. I just like to edit, and honestly, if it's your team playing, you're going for a walk, long walk.
Really, to be honest with you, Karen, I'm just looking at halftime to see what Zach is going to offer for a second half bet during the Super Bowl. So that's what all my is going to be during this. So.
Have you seen his picks on the site? They've been absolutely out of this world.
Impressive.
App or whatever betting source, call whoever you got to call. Get that second half bet in, or a bathroom break would be acceptable too.
Yeah.
So
right.
That's always always gotta get those in.
Yeah.
But it's fine. All right, I'll stick with the football circuits, and it's funny because Zach, we're talking about a little bit. I feel like over the past few shows, right, we've been saying how there's this. I don't know, this tension, and Frank, obviously, as a Philadelphia sports fan, I want to hear your input on this. But I feel like there's this, I don't know, rift's the right word, but this tension, like I was saying with Carson Wentz, the Eagles, right? It just feels like every week there's some type of dialogue around, right? Is he the guy? Is he not? Right, et cetera. And now I'm seeing, and let me pull up the clickbait for everybody. I'm seeing there was an article that says that 94 WIP would trade Carson Wentz for Sam Darnold. And I know how low you think is Sam Darnold, Zach. I wish I had your face on the camera right there as you made it. I just clickbait. It's clickbait. That's all it is. There's no need for me to go on a rant. It's clickbait.
Yeah,
That's why we do the segment clickbait cleanup.
Sam Darnold or whatever the heck league they come up with next year.
Whoa, that's a hot take.
Wow, that is really cold on Sam Darnold.
Yeah, that's like you're not even saying he's stopping. You're saying he's basement.
Look for him in the XFL next year with The Rock.
No.
Wow.
That's a clickbait segment. Come on now.
Come on.
I gotta clean you up there on that.
If Matt Schaub can find a place in the league, Sam Darnold has to have some spot somewhere. Right?
That's a good point. That is
Bill
true.
coached him.
There we go. Ryan, they're a chessmon superstar.
Yeah.
They're all over the place.
Back in middle school.
They're all over
that. Yeah.
There you go.
There's a fun fact. Yeah. So, all right, but let's take the football circuits to get the show started. Right. So we got Thursday Night Football, and it's funny because I have a lot of notes for this game, whether it's fantasy betting or just whether we're having just in general about the AFC South, right? But it's funny as I wrote this down, I don't know how to put this. I feel like sometimes when I get write the notes, I get excited. Even if it's like the Jets Patriots was like one of those games. It was just interesting seeing stats, right? About the matchup, even though obviously the Patriots had rolled them, I think it was like 8, now 9 straight times, right? Et cetera. But I looked at this game and I just thought to myself, it's a big game. It's a huge game, right? But you almost just sit there and you say, why is it big? Like who's any of these teams going to actually beat any of the AFC North or the Chiefs team? I don't know. What do you feel about this game? Obviously, now I'm 19 steps ahead. I'm talking about the playoffs. So, what's your excitement level about this game and just in general?
Well, I'm excited there's football on. I mean, it's better than watching the NFC East. So, I mean, if those are my options, then this is an interesting game. I mean, it's an important game for Indy. Indy has to win this game. They can't lose this game. They have to, especially coming off the loss against the Ravens. When they had that game in the first half, it looked like, okay, they'll stop Lamar Jackson and that'll be it. They really need to win this game because Tennessee, even if they lose this game, they're still kind of in control, so they have their own destiny. So this is a huge game for the Colts tonight.
Yeah, we got Alex cooking in the chat too. What's up, Alex? How we doing out there on the West Coast? I was just thinking about him too because that division's rocking and rolling out there at the NFC West. But no, Bright, to your point, it's funny. Okay, so I'm so glad. I was looking at my notes because I was saying, what's the next question I want to ask in this segment about Thursday Night Football? And you literally just got it right out of me. I think the Titans need to win this game more. And I feel like it's kind of like the potato argument, but it's more like they're at home. They're 6-2. You lose this game, now you have the same record. You have to go back there in 2 weeks to Indianapolis when this team just beat you, right? You can't lose this game if you're the Titans, right? That's I don't know. I just feel like, right, You need Derrick Henry to do his thing, right? He needs to gallop for 150 yards. Tannehill needs to play well. But if they don't win this game, then I think you start asking questions. Right now, all of a sudden they've lost 3 of 4. They haven't. It's not they've lost 2 and then they wrote the ship. No, now they've lost 3 of 4. It's question marks time, right? So I guess that's my thing with this team. They gotta win. I don't know because I also think if they lose this game, as I ramble on. Don't we start migrating into that world of are the Titans even really that good? I mean, is Ryan Tannehill even really that good? Their defense has not been that great. That's actually probably been one of the weaker points in their chain. I'm looking. They are. Let's see. What was the stat I wanted to bring out tonight? Well, I can't find it. Well,
they give up over 400 yards a game.
That's there you go. There's a Zach stat.
They give up over 400 yards a game. And I think you said it right there. About Ryan Tannehill. Can Tannehill carry the team when Derrick Henry is not having a good game? I don't know if the answer is yes. There, you're going up against the Indianapolis Colts, right? And they only allow just over 220 passing yards a game, which I don't even know if no offense to Tannehill. I'm not trying to roast quarterbacks this evening or anything, but I don't even know if he can throw for 220 yards with the weapons he has besides AJ Green, right? But I don't know. I don't see the Titans losing this. I don't see the Titans winning this game. Kieran, I think the Titans can afford to lose it, though. I think they do have a little bit of wiggle room because if they do, like Frank, with your point with the Colts, at least at that point they're tied. Technically, the tiebreaker would go to Indy, obviously. But I don't know. I think this is do or die for Indy here.
But are you a good football team? If you lose this game, you're not a good football team. You can't lose in primetime. A game, right? I guess for all the reasons the Colts need to win, you can't lose this if you're the Titans. like I'm sure they can lose the game and their season's not going to go down the toilet. Like I get that, but it's more just like it's kind of one of those things where it's like if you're dating someone for like 2 years and all of a sudden they're like, you ever think about having like just an open relationship? You're kind of like, what's this all been? Like these wins, the chatter about the Titans leading up to this point, right? It melts away.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, in the AFC, you're all chasing Kansas City and then Pittsburgh too. So you just got to make the playoffs. It's not like honestly, AFC, NFC, there's not a whole lot of depth in either league. So you can, if you have 6 wins already, you're doing pretty good. I mean, you're already on track to make the playoffs. So that's why Indy cannot afford to lose this game. They have to win the game.
And not to like just be like, okay, I'm going to jump over on this side of the argument with you guys. But I did see, right, so right now the Colts are in 9th. They're the 9 seed, so they're not even in the playoffs. So to that point, right, like for every reason, right, they need camp. I think they are actually a pretty good team, but I'm just like, if you lose this game, you're not that good. But to that point, what do you think we have with this Colts team, right? I mean, I think Vegas is kind of winking with the spread, right? It's kind of floated around 1 point, 2 points, a pick 'em, right? They're certainly thinking that they can stay in this game. And we've seen them play well. We've seen them play not so well. What do you think of when you look at this Colts team?
I think of a team that the defense carries them, and they have to get the lead early and hold it. Because Philip Rivers is not stretching any defense. He never has, and with the weapons that he has, he's still not stretching them. They're so reliant on run, and then play action, and then throw the ball. I mean, and that's still what they are. So, and the way you beat Tennessee is by stretching them. You take them down the field. That's where they've been getting hurt. They've been getting hurt is running past their DBs, going deep. If you just line up and run against them, Tennessee's defense, which is just average, can at least can hold up. So that's why Philip Rivers for what? Why couldn't he just roll with Jacoby Brissett again? I mean,
yeah, that's fair, and that's why I don't trust the Colts because I don't trust Philip Rivers. I heard someone say he's one of the smartest players they've ever played with, and I'm not knocking him. He's obviously great, and to that point, he's 7-2 in his career against Tennessee, albeit that was against the Chargers or with the Chargers, but still, right. So he has a knack of beating the Titans, but at the same. I don't know how much weight you put in. By the way, I'm loving. Thank you for the comments. That's saying the graphic game is pretty strong. Always take the compliments when you can get them.
There you go.
From our lovely audience. And by the way, your Uncle Rick was saying that Lamar Jackson, no one can beat them in the Ravens.
Oh yeah, well he's a Ravens fan, so of course he's going to say that.
well, I'll say so. But
they're pretty predictable. I don't know if you caught that headline today.
But I'd say so it's funny though. I feel like. And I thought their defense did a pretty good job keeping Baltimore in check last week. And you pull up their numbers here. Let me pull up their numbers real quick. They're first in total defense, right? Third in scoring, third in the pass, and third in the rush. It's the real deal. These guys are as good as advertised, right? If Philip Rivers stopped handing the other team the ball so much, they would actually probably have 1 or 2 more wins. Yeah. Right? They run, and then they're also. I wrote it down here. They're I want to say they're second in rushing on offense with 3.3 yards an attempt, right? So they're not bad, right? They got the recipe to be a team that's really good, and that's I guess why I sit there and I ask myself why are they not winning games? But I feel like there's been a year or two of this.
Yeah, no, I feel like on the offensive side of the ball, defense there's no question marks for me, but I feel like on the offensive side of the ball, they're still trying to find an identity. And I don't know if you caught my picks today and the analogy I made, but I feel like the running back carousel is like a doorknob. Everyone gets a turn, if you want to reference that joke from back in the day. But I just think they're kind of struggling to figure out who's their bell cow, right? Because it started out with Jonathan Taylor, and then he had a couple games where he's only been getting 2 yards a carry, and then they bring in Naheem Hines, and Jordan Wilkins is all of a sudden a stud. So I think it's a combination of that, and like Frank, you were saying with from a game script perspective, I think you're right. You get out to a lead early and make Ryan Tannehill beat you. Basically, is how I view it.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I just didn't know you want to add anything there. Right. So and here's to me, right, the game will come down to turnovers, and the thing about these two teams, right, it's the Colts have won the last 3 meetings until last year, and then Tannehill, I guess, is 1-0 as against the Colts as a starter, right? So it's I don't know how much really those numbers mean a whole lot. That's kind of what I take away from this game. It seems pretty evenly matched. I feel like this is going to come down to a turnover at the end of the game, or right, like a team misses a field goal at the end of the game. Like you're right, it's like a
or Steven Gostkowski extra point.
Right,
exactly, yeah.
Say that.
But I guess that point kind of wrap it back to like the Chiefs, the AFC North. Like that's kind of why I'm like, is this game interesting, right? Do you think one of these two teams are good enough to knock off one of those teams?
I mean, I think if you're going to ask me, I think that the Colts have a better chance to knock them off because of that defense. They do, because if you look at Tennessee this year, the biggest takeaway I have from Tennessee this year is that their offensive line is not as good as they were last year. They're really missing guys on that offensive line, and that's why Derrick Henry's numbers this year have been so inconsistent, because they haven't been able to break holes for him as much as they did last year. So, and Tennessee's defense is not good enough to stop Kansas City. It's not. So if we're talking about a team that's best matched up with Kansas City, it's Indy. I don't know if Indy can score enough points against Kansas City, but at least they're not going to give up 35 points to Mahomes.
And you know, to that point, not to like sit here and almost like make up hypotheticals of the Colts being good enough to beat an Arrowhead when they're the 9 seed right now. We're discussing can they even beat the Titans on Thursday night. But just to have fun with that hypothetical, I mean, he knows Arrowhead too. Playing in the AFC West at Philip Rivers, that is. Right? So, I mean, like, yeah, I think if you want to look at a crystal ball, that'd be a team that would be a little scary.
And Philip Rivers knows Veterans Stadium and Franklin Field, too. He's been playing for like 50 years. I think he's been to every stadium that's been created in the NFL.
You kind of forget that him and Eli were in the same draft.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And to that, so speaking of longevity, I got a stat for you. Since 1999, the Colts they won 13 of 18. So 13-5. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It sounds better when you say 13 of 18, but still, like it's still, I mean, when you think that you're going on the road to play a team in your own division, that's pretty good.
Yeah. No, we'll see.
Jeff Fisher was not beating them back in the day at all, really.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think like we've kind of alluded to, I think a lot of the deciding factors tonight are gonna rest on Philip Rivers if he doesn't turn the ball over, or it's plain simple. If you turn the ball over, you're more likely to lose. So if he can, control it a little bit, which after his bye week, I know he had 2 games in a row. He had over 300 yards passing. I think he might have had maybe 1 interception out of those 2 games, which for him is really good. So we'll see. I mean, last week was different, of course, but hopefully he can string something together. Hopefully, like I'm a fan of the Colts or anything, but I don't know. I'm riding the Colts in this game.
I was gonna say, am I overreacting if I say the winner of this game is going to win the AFC South?
No,
maybe not. I mean, probably not. Well, if the Colts win this game, then there's a chance. If Tennessee wins this game, it's gonna be tough for the Colts to win the division.
That's kind of my thought, right? But if they can win this game, right? If you're Frank, right, you're selling the fact we can beat them now and we can double up 2 weeks. I mean, not great. They're the Packers in between. They're at home, so which I think they're going to win that game, just whatever it's worth. Trap game for the Packers, but I don't know. I think that this is like you're right. They got to win tonight. Like they're going to throw a punch. I feel like.
Yeah,
and you're right. Tennessee's offensive line has been pretty banged up.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. They lost to Tennessee lost to the Bengals 2 weeks ago. They barely beat. It took overtime to beat the Houston Texans 4 weeks ago. The Bears, I mean, they pretty much had that. The Bears scored a garbage touchdown, so you can't really say much about that game. But the Titans both teams have shown wobbly legs, if you will. So it's kind of a crapshoot. But I think, yeah, for sure. I think if Titans win, then I'd say it's a very hard road for the Colts moving forward.
Sure. And the only other thing I look at is we got short week and we got Indy coming off of the game against Baltimore, which was super physical.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
And that was a really tough game for the Colts. That defense was on the field a ton in that game. Now they come off that short week travel. That could be a little difficult for them.
And you got Derrick Henry running into you now.
I'd be curious to see the teams that played after they played the Ravens, how they did. I kind of want to look that up. Like, just want to look
at the Philadelphia Eagles.
This is why we got to get interns in here.
Look at the Eagles. Hey, come on. That was our season. Let's go.
But I'll say it's funny. Speaking of, we were talking about surprises and stuff. I feel like the NBA draft, Frank. That's why we have you on. You're the basketball expert, right? Let's talk a little hoops. So the NBA draft is on next Wednesday. Was it the 17th? 18th, yeah. There we go. So I'm getting, that's actually pretty good for me if I can get it within a day or two of an actual date.
Right.
Right, so the NBA draft, I feel like there's probably a little less luster. It's always kind of fun in the middle of June when there's nothing going on, right? And especially when you're a Sixers fan and there's been all sorts of process trusting. over the mid-2000s. Break it down for me, right? I know, like, it's funny. I saw Trust in the chat was asking if you thought LaMelo Ball might go to the Knicks. Just kind of from a high level, just break it down. I know there's the rumors he might be the number 1 overall pick.
Right.
Like, really? To me, I'm still just pissed off about the Sixers because I just don't think it's going to work. So that's where I'm at. Like, my head's in the clouds right now with them and in the NBA. So kind of walk me through what's going on if you're, got a top 10 pick, if you will.
Right. So honestly, if you look at the top of the draft, everybody's looking at 3 players. They're looking at LaMelo Ball, they're looking at James Wiseman, and you're looking at Anthony Edwards. Now, if you ask me who would I take first out of all 3, it's Anthony Edwards, who would preferably be my guy, because he has the skills to translate immediately to be a top-level scorer in the league. Extremely powerfully built 6'5" guard from Georgia. Loves to drive. He should drive the ball more, but when he does drive, very difficult. Left-handed, right-handed finisher. Very good pull-up game from the outside. 19 years old. He's only going to get bigger, stronger, super smooth with his game. His game translates immediately to the NBA. Second guy I like, James Wiseman would be my second guy. 7-foot center from the University of Memphis.
Yeah.
He only played 3 games this year because of a benefit scandal, and Penny Hardaway coached him at Memphis East in high school. A lot of people compare him to Chris Bosh. He doesn't have the range Chris Bosh has. He's actually a better athlete than Chris Bosh. Left-hander, very good on lobs, when engaged. His issue sometimes he kind of floats out there sometimes, but he's apparently put on 20 pounds in the offseason because he only played 3 games, so he's had plenty of time to train. He'd be a great guy for Golden State because when they suck out on those 3-point shooters, they can lob it to him. He's an excellent finisher. He's only going to get better. LaMelo Ball is the third name, and he's the most popular name because everybody knows him from, the ball trio, LaMelo, LiAngelo, and, Alonzo. So LaMelo is
Joe said in the chat too about this draft. Really, this is what you're dealing with Sixers fans right now. You're living it right now in the chat here, Frank. That we have no idea we're depressed. But sorry.
Yeah. So LaMelo, he's 6'7" guard, all over the place. Chino Hills in California for high school, then he went to Lithuania. Came back, went to Spire Institute in Ohio, and then he went back and played in Australia this past year. Different player than Lonzo. He's a little bit better shooter, a little bit longer than Lonzo. Lonzo might be a little bit better of an athlete. LaMelo's really good in pick and roll. He's played at a very high level in Australia, so his game will translate. The only issue with him is he's still not that great of an outside shooter. He still needs to put on a good amount of weight to take on the rigors of an NBA season. But he's a solid prospect, and he shouldn't be lumped in with Lonzo or LiAngelo. He's his own guy, and he'd be a good pick. I mean, is there like a true franchise guy out of those 3? Nah, but those guys are potential all-star guys.
Why does it smell like the Anthony Bennett draft a little bit?
No.
Does it have that taste in your mouth at all?
Nah, this not necessarily. I mean, Anthony Bennett though was an excellent I liked Anthony Bennett at UNLV. Don't get me wrong. He was a good player at UNLV. The thing with this draft is that you can get a guy from the high. There may not be a high level, high end franchise guy, but if you look between 4 and 10 and 15 to 20, there's some good players in the draft. I mean, it's kind of wing dominated probably. But there's a lot of good guys you can get in the draft to at least be like solid role players. And in the NBA, I mean, that's how you win. You got superstars. There's only one LeBron out there. These other teams that want to compete, you got to fill out that bench and look at the Sixers. I mean, that's one team right there that showed you just how important a bench would be if you had one.
So I got to ask, out of those 3, so obviously Minnesota's picking first, Warriors second, Charlotte third.
Right.
Which of those 3 do you see fits the need? Like those top 3 picks, where do you think they could play out from like a needs perspective for those 3 teams?
Right. If I was Minnesota, I'd pick Anthony Edwards because D'Angelo Russell's such a ball dominant guard. He wants that ball in his hands. And LaMelo Ball is a ball dominant guard. He's not. I mean, could he play off the ball? Sure, but he wants the ball in his hands. He's at his best when he's a creator. So if you're Minnesota, if I was Minnesota, I'd look Anthony Edwards because you can plug him in immediately. He doesn't truly need the ball. He can work off screens. Golden State, on the other hand, Wiseman fits them perfectly. That's exactly what they want. They need a big guy down there. Draymond Green can play the 4. You can spread 4 out, 1 in with Wiseman. He's really good. Pick and dive into the rim, lob it up to him. He's perfect. And Charlotte would be third, and they get LaMelo Ball, he's the third guy. I mean, that would be totally fine with them. I mean, Devontae Graham had a really good year there this year, but he's not your answer long term as a point guard. There's no. He's like a really nice backup player on a good team. So you just need talent on that roster, and he would fit well there.
And I know a lot of the A10 folks are wondering, what about Obi Toppin? I saw a recent.
It took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I saw a recent mock draft from a day or two ago from NBC Sports. And
no, I mean, I saw Cleveland too. It was like 5. I saw somebody take him there. I like Obi Toppin. The only issue I have with Obi Toppin is that I don't know who he's going to guard in the NBA. That's it. That's the problem with him. I mean, he's a good shot blocker, but he's a 4 in the NBA. And you can't really pair him with a slow 5 because he's going to have to guard. He'd have to guard like Tobias Harris if you run the Sixers. He'd have a difficult time guarding him. I mean, Obi Toppin would
really?
be
He's on Sixers. He can guard anyone. Sixers.
If Obi Toppin gets picked by the right team and he's a small ball 5 man, he can be super effective. I just don't know what he's going to do if he has to guard a really athletic 4 man. He could have a difficult time with that.
And I guess it's funny because I was thinking in my head too, right? Then you got this category of teams, and it's funny. I always laugh because I feel like it's always the group of teams that aren't really that close, but they think they are, so they always think they're just a shooter away. But right, is there anyone in this draft who's like, damn, he might be able to shoot the lights out for a team and really give that offensive boost and a shot in the arm?
Yeah. So the draft is filled, like I said, there's a lot of wings in the draft. There's a lot of wings out there that aren't like amazing shooters. Like people love to talk about Isaac Okoro. Like Isaac Okoro is a really good defender, but I'm leaving him out there to shoot the 3. But Aaron Neesmith at Vanderbilt is the sniper. That's the guy you want shooting the ball for you. 6'5", 6'6" from Vanderbilt. Had a really nice year until he got injured. Shot almost 50% from 3. He played on a really bad Vanderbilt team, so people look at that and be like, oh my God, I really don't know if I want that guy. But Vanderbilt's actually producing pretty good players over the years. He would fit in really well. And Devin Vassell is another name people really like from Florida State. He was a super under-recruited player coming out of high school out of Georgia. He went to Florida State, really bulked himself up. People want to compare him to Mikal Bridges, who played at Villanova, now plays for the Phoenix Suns. I don't know if he's as good of a defender, but he's another guy who's going to stretch the floor, stay up, spot up in the corner. You can give it to him. He's a pretty good defender. The shooter who I love, who's probably going to be a second-round pick, is Isaiah Joe from Arkansas. Super underrated. He pulled his name out of the draft and then came back in the draft. He was a 0-star high school player out of Arkansas. He was first-team All-State. People were like, why in the world does Arkansas offer him a scholarship? He didn't even have another high major look. He could shoot the lights out. He'd be a great second-round pick. And if I'm a Sixers fan, I'm dying to have him picked in the second round because he's a guy that would 1,000% make your roster, and he will play in the NBA. There's no question.
Okay. I'm starting to see sour and sweetened, too. I think it's a Seinfeld reference for you. Oh, it's funny. I feel like for Frankie, it's funny. We always joke around and say you're like Fran Fraschilla. Any international stars you like that you feel like that can really pop out, make a splash in the NBA scene this year?
Thanks, Karen. I was waiting for this question.
It's like the alley-oop. I'm trying to find you there.
So if we're looking at international prospects, everyone's going to talk about Deni Avdija is the number 1 prospect. He's from Israel. So Deni, if you want a comparison, he's a more athletic Darius Saric. So Denny's really good. He's a better defender, but Denny's really good at facilitating for others. He's pretty athletic. He can run the floor, really knows how to play, and he played at a super high level this year, which is the thing with a lot of these international guys this year. Recent year, we used to see 10 years ago, they'd be picking guys in lower levels of play. They weren't playing in the highest European level, and they struggled in the NBA. They'd be total washouts. Like the Nicholas Skidishvilis of the world, like those guys couldn't play a lick in the NBA. So Deni Avdija would be a good guy to look out for.
I'm just loving your international lexicon right now.
Thank you, Kieran. The second guy on the list probably Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes was born in Florida, but he grew up in France because his dad was a professional player. He played in Germany this year. He's a left-handed guard, 6'5". People compare him to James Harden. He's not as he's a shooter, pretty good in the pick and roll. He's just going to need some time to physically develop, but he'd be a good pick between like 8 and 12 probably. Then we've got the real mystery guy is Alexander Pokuševski. He played in the second level this year in Greece, which is the same level that Giannis played in. Pokuševski was supposed to come over to the United States for high school, and then he ended up signing a professional contract over there, so it never happened. 6'10". in the second level, Greasy did everything you would expect a guy to be really good to do. He can shoot, he can pass, he can dunk, he does a lot of great stuff. His only issue is I really don't know how great he would be against the top competition. So that's a guy, if you take him, you let him sit and maybe leave him over there for a year or two. And then the two other names, one that's been connected with the Sixers consistently is Leandro Balmero. He's a 6'7" guard from Spain. He played in the highest level over there at Spain. He's a total non-shooter at this point, but he's a very good ball handler, very good defender. I know. He's a total non-shooter. But if you're looking at the Sixers, you need a backup point guard because no one on the team can dribble other than Ben Simmons. So he's a guy that you could bring over, or you could leave him over there. And in a Sixers cap situation, it wouldn't be the end of the world if they took a first-round pick and sat. And then the fifth guy would be Théo Maledon. He's from France. He was on Tony Parker's professional team over there this year. He only played in a couple games because of an injury. Prior to the season, he was seen as a top 10 to 15 pick. Stock has fallen a little bit. So he would be another guy to look out for.
And I got to ask, and you mentioned, and not to go away from the draft, but you mentioned James Harden. So obviously in the news we're seeing about Harden and Russell Westbrook. Is this clickbait that they want to leave, or is this legit?
I think it's totally legit that Russell Westbrook wants to leave. I mean, it really wasn't a great fit for him this year. Even though people say it was a really good fit, I don't really think it was that great of a fit this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a guy that also needs the ball. He's a guy that should end up with like the Knicks. Now that's like the perfect guy for the Knicks to get. I mean, he could go to New York. He could be back getting his like 30 points and 10 rebounds and 10 assists, and they could win like 25 games. Like that's like a perfect fit for him. I don't know about Harden leaving. The rumor is that Harden wanted John Lucas to be the coach, and then that obviously never panned out. Stephen Silas got the job. And Daryl Morey and him were super close. So with Morey leaving, there's a little uncertainty there. I don't know as much about Harden, but Westbrook definitely, I think he wants to.
Let me kind of take you there, right? Because I keep reading everyone like the Sixers more and so excited, like, that's all they need. Like, why? I feel like every offseason there's just some type of decision that's made, right? Where this is why we're going to be, this is why we're going to be great now, right? Oh, well, first it was Brand replacing Colangelo, right? Brian Colangelo. It's like now it's like okay, like it. To me, Frank, I just feel like as a Sixers fan, I've been hoodwinked, by even like the point guard that played there, right? The guy, Markelle Fultz, right? Whether it was him or striking out, Ben Simmons not shooting, Brett Brown and that team just not being good enough, right? Signing Tobias Harris, letting Jimmy Butler go. Like, it just seems like, right, I don't have to keep going down the road. I don't know.
Right. I know. Keep your head up, Kieran. I'm happy with what the Sixers did. I mean, just first of all, coach. That's the best.
So you like the Morey hire?
I like the Morey hire because Morey has experience. Not that Morey's going to turn this all around in 1 year, but they needed a basketball mind that has made significant moves because the Sixers are going to be kind of hamstrung a little bit with salary cap. They need a guy that knows how to maneuver trades. And if you look at Daryl Morey's history, he's done that really well. And he's also drafted well too. If you look at some of the second-round picks he's had over the years, whether it was Montrezl Harrell or Dylan Brooks. I mean, he's had some guys that have really contributed that were second-round picks. So his drafting acumen has also been very good since the Sixers have accumulated so many second-round picks. So he's going to be the final say in all this. Elton Brand is in like an apprenticeship role. He's learning. So Daryl Morey is going to be the final say in all of this. And, I mean, if you're a Sixers fan, you should be cautiously optimistic that things are headed in the right direction.
So one thing that I really like about drafts, regardless of what league it is the possibility for trades. Do you see maybe the Sixers doing some type of trade to move up in the draft, or the Rockets maybe with Westbrook or Harden maybe? But what's your perspective there?
Well, all this Chris Paul talk. Chris Paul is a big name that a lot of people are talking about getting moved now. So he's a name I'd look at. But I mean, this draft's going to be crazy because the lack of being able to work out a lot of these guys in person. Some guys are going to, people are going to love guys, or, you look at these mock drafts and you've got like, Tyrell Terry getting picked like 15 in one and like 48 in another one. Like, I mean, they're like all over the place on evaluating a lot of these guys. So, I mean, if there's somebody that a guy really likes, like, if the Knicks really want to make a move and try to get LaMelo Ball or whoever it is, it could happen. But I think you'll see more minor moves of like teams going, you know what? I'm not really loving the end of the first round here. I didn't get to evaluate as many of these prospects as I want to. I'm tied up in the salary cap. Let me trade back into the second round, or let me pick up a future first. while some of these teams are like middle of the road, like borderline contending, like Phoenix and San Antonio trying to rebuild. These are teams that may want to accumulate a guy at the end of the first round because they go, okay, we can plug him in on the bench and maybe we can just improve our team. So.
You know, it's funny. I just was looking. I can't believe I put the date. We're 10 days ahead. People are going to think we're in the future here. Just looking at the graphic. There's always something. There's always something. I'm looking. I'm like, it's not the 22nd. Like, wow. Well, you know, just getting a little ahead of ourselves. You know.
Well, we got a comment on Facebook from Ryan Andrew saying it's hard to be optimistic about the Sixers until they can prove they can be consistent.
Exactly. No, and I couldn't agree more with that because I think they're consistently inconsistent, right? Go to Orlando, they don't win, right? And I'm not trying to be the guy that says like, oh, they're immature, right? But like we know there's that. It's the same wrinkles, Frank. We know, and right, you know it, I know it, the chat knows it. And I think that's right. That's why it's a great point. That's why there are doubts. They're not consistent, and everyone's like, "Oh, Doc Rivers." Like really?
Yeah, I know. They are totally inconsistent. But the fact that they at least the Sixers showed that they were willing to at least make a total change in everything this offseason. We have a new scouting director. We have new player personnel people. We have a new GM in Daryl Morey. Let's be honest. There's a new general manager there. So the fact that they were willing to do this shows that they understand that what was going on was not the right thing. They cut bait with Brett Brown. Totally fine. Doc Rivers is an improvement. So you should at least see that, you know, they're trying to make it. They understand that what was happening was not right, and they had to go in a different direction. So, and I still don't buy when people tell me like, oh man, the Sixers are a lost cause. They're clearly not a lost cause. I mean, if you look at even with how dysfunctional they are, they still have enough talent on that team to at least, you know, maneuver some pieces. I mean, that's why Daryl Morey's there. Like I said, not going to be able to sign a big free agent. You're going to have to move some pieces, whether it's absorb money to move a contract like Al Horford or work your way to get some solid bench players. You know, that's what they're going to have to do. So it's not a total loss.
The irony is that we keep talking about the Rockets. I feel like the Sixers are just that Eastern Conference Rockets. They're not actually, they're always the bridesmaid, you know, that they're never actually going to like cause like, right? It's like you got your Celtics, you got the Bucks, just kind of like how you got your Lakers, you have your Clippers, and then it's like then the Sixers, then the Rockets, right? Like that's where I feel like we're at with this team.
We're there, but you know, I mean, it's a team that needs. It needs better depth on the team. It's not like, oh my God. I mean, they need a backup point guard. They need more shooting on the team. They need legitimate veterans, not Kyle O'Quinn on your team, like to be the nice guy on the team. You need that, but you know what? That's the kind of people that Doc Rivers will attract. Like those kind of guys will sign for veteran minimums to be on the Sixers to kind of police that locker room, which is what needs to be done. I mean, Al Horford can only say so much, but Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are still doing their own thing. And I don't really think Morey's going to move on from either one of them in the near future. He wants to see if this can work, and if it can't, then he'll reevaluate.
Well, let's sticking with just these teams that are playoff caliber, right? I just dropped the Lakers name in there. Is that a team, Frank, where you feel like they certainly are on the inside track to repeat, or with maybe things going back to normal, right? Like LeBron obviously being a year older. Some of those other wrinkles teams maybe evolve, get better, et cetera, right? Like to that point, do you feel like they're on the inside track still to run it back, or would you take the field?
They are. I mean, they do have some veterans on that team that I really don't know how they're going to respond next year. I mean, I think the bubble was a really good thing for the Lakers because it kept guys like Rondo and Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, under wraps. There was no outside distraction there. Those guys were all in the bubble together. LeBron had his hands on the whole thing and can control all of it. How do those veterans respond next year? Who knows? Who knows if they even bring those veterans back? The Lakers are the kind of team that could be like, you know what? Kyle Kuzma, I have a hard time seeing him go back to the Lakers.
Like a traveling circus with like gypsies.
He's going. So what the Lakers will do is the Lakers might look to add some younger guys on the bench. They're the kind of team that can accumulate second-round picks and try to work them in like they did with Taylor Horton Tucker. They'll find a way for him to be a good player next year for them. He was a really good draft pick. So they'll find their way. Even Alex Caruso will turn himself into like a serviceable player.
I feel like he's oh my God, I can see him. The Australian guy.
Dellavedova?
Yep. Matthew Dellavedova. That's what I was thinking. I couldn't think of it. That's what comes to mind. All right, but that's what. Did you watch any of the Masters today, Frank?
I'm securing my work today.
Oh, so did I. Well, that's true. Yeah, you actually have to be in your office working with the people, right? You're not looking at the laptop.
I did not have the masters on when I was doing some extractions.
No, that makes sense. Root canals and chips on the 13th green or onto the 13th green don't exactly gel.
You know what, Karen? Honestly, whatever goes on in the Masters will not be as exciting as what John Rahm did on the practice round. So
that was unbelievable.
It's all a letdown after that for me, to be honest with you.
That was, and Zach was telling us on the show, and of course I deleted the highlights, so I can't run it back for everyone tonight. But we saw, you were saying, Zach, that right, so that they try to do that during the practice round, something like a trick shot?
Yeah, it's like they usually do it every Tuesday, I think, just messing around. And last year, I think George Beef got it, then like maybe then Rahm this year just dunks it. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how someone can do that. I mean, I can hit in the water, but not like that intentionally where it skips and is all good, so.
And I'll pull it up. So it was a good day, right? I mean, hey, you were saying you were watching it from the jump on ESPN Plus side.
Yeah, I had it on my other screen.
Yeah.
Fortunate enough to work from home, so yeah.
And right, Casey comes out to the lead. He balled out today.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
7 under, he shot 65, which obviously is phenomenal. Paul Casey's one of those guys, though, that in a Masters tournament will start off hot and then will kind of plateau, and then you'll see some of the veteran presence, like maybe like Tiger Woods 4 under. You might see him.
That eagle was phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oof. No, Tiger looked great today. I mean, it's rare that you see Tiger smiling and like looks like he's actually having fun on the course because he's that serious. And in someone like him who knows that course and has obviously won it several times and played it for forever, it seems like. He knows where to miss. So, he knows, all right, I'm going to aim here, but if I miss, it's going to put me in a great spot. Little advantages like that, like even with Phil Mickelson, Phil, I think 2 under through 9 or 10 holes, right? So little things like those little tricks and ways to get around the course is what's going to give the winner there this week.
And you saw the signature Tiger fist pump in there too. And today had all the feels, I feel like, as a golf person.
Yeah, it really did. Minus the fans, obviously. It was.
Yeah, we got Dark Sage going in the chat. So sorry, I may cut you off there, Zach. But yeah, no, I feel like we've gone through some technical journeys, but we're back. We got the new digs here with the little new formatting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. That's what we were just talking about. So, Dark Sage is saying he thinks Tiger Woods is going to win.
Hey, that's one of the players I put money on, so that'd be great.
Now, Frank, let me ask you this: when you're off and you're downtime, will you watch it this weekend?
Oh, yeah, oh no, I'm watching it. You bet.
Okay, so you're not like you're not. So it's like, I'm not into the match.
No way.
All right, good.
I'm anxiously waiting to see where Patrick Reed finishes.
Are you a Patrick Reed guy?
Well, I mean, I'm everybody guy. Give me DeChambeau, give me Rory, give me them all.
Bryson, baby. Let's see. Where is?
To be honest with you, I'd love to see Bryson match up with Tiger, like on day 4. That'd just be great. I just think those 2 guys play together.
Bryson shot a 68.
There you go, 4 under.
Yep.
Bryson's 2 under, and he looked very shaky to start. I mean, he made a 7 on a par 5, and this guy came out and said that his par was 67 because he would birdie all the par 5s. So he made a 7 on a par 5, a 510-yard par 5, mind you, someone who can bomb it, 350, 380. But it could have just been jitters, and especially the spotlight's all on him because of his, his build and everything that he's done over the last year in the off season. So yeah, I'm sure he'll rebound. I think a lot of it was jitters, like I said. But I don't know. I really think it's going to be someone who has experience who's going to come out of the woodwork and make it happen. But Kieran, I know your guy, Xander Schauffele, 5 under.
Do you want to tell him about this? So did you see what time I texted you, by the way? This morning?
Was it like 5?
It was like 4:10 in the morning.
4:10. Okay.
I woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning randomly. So just like did a quick little look at the phone. And yes, I logged in the old FanDuel application, Franklin. And So wait, hold on. You want to explain how this works? I actually feel bad. I feel like all this time I'm sitting there. Honest to God, if you told me what happened to you, I wouldn't have done it. But I'm thinking,
So what FanDuel's doing, or they did, is if you do a minimum $50 bet on an outright winner, you get a spin at a wheel, okay? And it's obviously
I saw that for how much you get for like a birdie. Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
So I think it goes from $1 to what's the highest one, Kieran? Maybe
like $5.
Yeah, 5.
Roger, just so I don't sound like a designer. I had the money in the account. But,
Right.
in the FanDuel account, so just making sure that was established.
Yeah.
Because
So
the Packers did well last Thursday.
yeah. So I took a dark horse, Francesco Molinari, who could have arguably won it last year, and he does very well there every year. Top 20 guy typically. He was 101 odds, so 50. That's a good payday. And I spin it, and it's like at the $1, of course, because what's the chance of 100 to 1 going to actually hit? So I get the $1. Kieran gets $4, and Shoffley's out there just draining birdies all day long today. So,
Yeah.
one of those things that you just don't trust electronic wheels.
Right.
Don't do
Electronic wheels. No way.
No, it's not the way to go. They always, when you're a kid, right, they say don't do drugs and avoid the electronic wheels. So, it's no, but it's funny. I thought that so I'm like all excited. I'm like, he's getting birdie. Oh yeah. I felt like a little kid. I felt bad. I was like texting just like all giddy. I'm like, this is so much. I felt like a kid that never gambled before. Like,
yeah, it's all right. I think Molinari made like 2 birdies today, so I got $2. There you go.
Okay, well, you're chipping away.
Yeah, but there's some other notable names if we want to run through them. So
give us the Z-Man report today.
Yeah, so Justin Thomas, who has never really had that great of a track record at the Masters, is 5 under through 10 holes. As we know, there was a little over 2 hour delay this morning. So because of daylight and all that good stuff, the players who were out later today are going to finish tomorrow morning, and then they got to do a quick turnaround and play another 18 right after. So a lot of them made it through about 9 or 10 holes. So they're going to be looking at 27 holes pretty much back to back tomorrow, which could be advantageous or not, depending on how the rest of that, the back 9 goes for them. And if it's good, hopefully that bleeds into their 18. If it's bad, we've been there many times, Kieran, right? When you hit one bad shot, how that goes.
How you just start mentally reeling.
Yeah, but some other notables. Webb Simpson is 5 under, and that's a guy who's great with the putter. He's a very consistent, precise player. Not too many flaws in his game. Brooks Koepka, surprisingly, +2 through 10, which
That's
everyone,
Gucci, bro.
Yeah, whenever he's in a major, you expect him to win at this rate. So +2 through 10 isn't great, but again, he can turn it around. And Tony Finau is a guy who I had on our write-up the other day. He's -3 after the first round, and again, he's another guy like Xander and Webb Simpson. Steady golf game. If he can putt, he's there and has every tool to win it.
Did you see Dark Sage Boy in the chat too?
No, what did he say?
We got was it Bernard Langer?
Yeah,
Right.
Bernhard Langer.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I think he's
I never watched.
Bernhard Langer.
Just gonna go for a walk after that one.
I think he's 1 under. He's turning back the clocks. He's a guy who always somehow finishes like top 25 every year there.
Yeah, 2-time Master champion.
Kieran, you know what though? Two names I like that's still like within shouting distance is always Justin Rose and Jason Day.
Yeah.
Always there. Those guys will always hang around, and if you give them enough wiggle room, they can make a run. Both of them can, especially if they're healthy.
I feel Adam Scott gets thrown in that category too.
Yeah. If you saw Justin Rose and Adam Scott walking down the street, you would be like, I don't even know who either of those guys are.
It's like the opposite of. But are we just going to dismiss? Paul Casey balled out today.
Yeah, no, he did. I just, it's just that's like.
Is it like the horse that's winning the first, like the 4 lengths kind of a thing?
Yeah, it's like the Kentucky Derby, and you see the guy, sprint out, and he's got a 3-length lead, and they're only, a quarter of the way through. So not knocking Paul Casey, because he's a great golfer, but he just had a track record of not being able to finish what he started, essentially. One last guy like Matthew Wolff, -4 through 11 holes. The guy with the goofy pregame warm-up, that we see. But he's, long story short, everyone's still in it, of course, because we're only like halfway through the first round, essentially. But I think it was like 65 out of the 90-some players are under par, or even or under par. So there's a very strong field. And obviously it plays easier on Thursday than it does on a Saturday and Sunday, but still, it's going to be tight.
Yeah, I thought your boy Tony Finau played pretty well.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah. No, he did. He had an eagle from the bunker on
the bunker. Yeah,
the 13 or the 15, par 5.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A little sand shot there.
He's definitely someone who I think,
He just needs to stay injury free while playing his golf.
I was just thinking the same thing. That happened at the Masters. Was it last year? Where
That's right. He just needs to make sure he doesn't dislocate his ankle again.
Yeah, and he popped it in himself.
Popped it right in and kept on going.
Yeah.
Oh God, what a beast! It's funny, and I know Sergio's not playing. right? He backed out, but I always miss
COVID.
him. Yeah, I miss having him just take his time out there. Take like 40 minutes.
We still got DJ Singh playing out there.
That's true. You know, he likes
that's a blast. That's the ultimate blast from the past. Come on.
Yeah. I know. I feel like he's been playing since I was just the inception of watching golf.
He's been playing for a long time. I was waiting for like David Duval's name to pop up on the leaderboard.
Jeez, David Duval, yeah.
Well, it's why. Speaking of COVID, I feel like there's all the college football games have been canceled this weekend. So all those Halloween parties, we're in that time frame now. Sharing the solo cups, Frank. But yeah, I know it's not camp appropriate, but yeah. This was fun. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Is there anything besides we got the Masters? Obviously, there's some good NFL. Yeah, what do you got?
No, I was just say I don't know, Frank. If you saw, I think this happened right before we started. That the Ivy League men's and women's their basketball season.
They're done for the season. The rumor was a couple weeks ago was that Harvard had already informed everybody they weren't playing.
Wow.
So and then I think that's just the Ivy League. They're student athletes. I mean, it's clearly been shown that students before athletes. Penn doesn't even have their kids on campus right now. I mean, are you going to bring them back and practice for like a week and then start playing? They weren't going to let those kids travel or anything like that. I totally understand. And if you look what's going on across the country on some of these other teams, Seton Hall's having issues, Iona's having issues. I saw Canisius today. There's just a lot of teams. It's going to be really difficult with the 14-day quarantine period that these teams are having to get any semblance of like a real season. The only saving grace would be really a conference bubble eventually for some of these schools, but it's going to be really difficult to play any sort of non-conference game.
Yeah, so what do? Do you just have a location, you think? And then, I mean, the majority of learning is virtual, right? So it's almost like you can learn wherever you go.
How much schoolwork are these kids doing? No, I'm kidding. During the season, they can definitely bubble this. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's Adidas is one of the people that is actually sponsoring a high school league currently out in Arizona that is bubbling 16 academies. And the kids out there are bubbling in virtual learning out there. So if high school prep academies can do this for basketball, both teams can do it. They'll find a way to do it. The typical sites like, Vegas will have a bubble, and Mohegan Sun they're throwing around will have a bubble. The typical sites will have it. They will get the NCAA can't afford to not have March Madness.
I know.
They're going to have it come hell or high water. They're having it. And they're going to play. They might make them travel to Hawaii to play the games, but they're going to have it.
And I love what Brian was saying in the chat too. So what do you think? You guys think the Eagles have a shot against the? That's right. We got Eagles Giants. Are we doing a show on Sunday morning?
Why not?
I don't know. We can mull that over, but what do you? In case we don't, what do you feel? Yeah, exactly. You're like listen, like just jammed out your electric guitar before that game. What are you guys feeling before? We got some Eagles and some Giants blood in this podcast here.
Kieran, I think anything's possible, Kieran. Wayne Gallman might take it right to the Eagles this week. I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the Eagles have a couple guys coming back. They're coming off a bye week. But it's still the Eagles. And, the Giants, actually, I'll give the Giants some credit. The Giants they arguably played their best game of the season.
They look like they're playing better football.
They are playing better.
I feel like they might win. That's why I feel like they might win this game.
They are playing better football. So, I mean, it's going to be a close game. And I do think in the end the Eagles will squeak it out, but it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, I think Giants plus 3.5 is a lock. Just because it's going to be one of those close games.
Watch yourself.
Could be easy.
He's right. No, I would agree. If I was a betting man, I would take Giants.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, as a Giants fan, I want to say, we're going to win or whatever, But frankly, like you said, I think the Giants, and again, it was against the Washington football team. I get it, but I think as a whole, they probably did, like you said, play their best team game of the season last week, and I think they're finally starting to come together. Another big thing, obviously, was Daniel Jones didn't turn the ball over, which only the second time in his career that's happened in a game. But if he can show some maturity, absolutely the Giants could pull it off. But what scares me with the Eagles is you got, Frank, like you said, you got a lot of people coming back from injury, fresh off a bye week. And we all know how it's been with the Eagles versus Giants lately. So
the whole key to the game is can the Giants protect Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
That's the whole key this week because the Eagles defensive line will be rested. That's the best part about the entire Eagles team is that defensive line. Will they be able to get pressure on Daniel Jones? Will Andrew Thomas be able to block anybody? Is how many sacks will the Eagles get this weekend? So, I mean, that's really the key. If they can block Daniel Jones, they'll get guys open, and as long as they're not throwing against Darius Slay, they'll have plenty of completions against the Eagles. So as long as they protect him.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna make one of those brutal NFC East battles, right? I mean, it doesn't matter about the records. Whenever anyone in the division play each other, it's always a tough, hard hitting game. So it'll be good.
It will be good. And speaking of coming together, that's like a perfect way for me to segue into give a little tease for everyone. If you want to check us out, want to follow us. You can check us out on the social media outlets and all that cool stuff. For all our audio episodes are on Spotify and iTunes. Check us out on social media. And we'll give a little shout out to all our new followers on Facebook and some of the new circuits today. This is awesome, getting some new followers. We appreciate all the love from everyone, especially the chat. This was awesome tonight. And then check us out if you're bored, you're a Twitch person. We're on Twitch and we're trying to get to that subscription goal. So I gotta update those metrics. I feel like we're a little bit further behind that. But all right, nevertheless. But check us out. You can follow and subscribe on Twitch. It's free if you have Amazon Prime. And it's certainly free if you're on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on there as well. You can check out all the previous episodes, as well as some more highlights that are cut up in there. Also, all sorts of cool stuff. So be sure to check us out. And holidays are rolling around. Look at this. I'm like on a roll with the commercials. Holidays are rolling around. And look at that. You can get all sorts of cool sidetrack swagger. You gotta love that, right? Look at that. Frank, I know you got
Kieran, that's the ultimate stocking stuff. Right?
It really is. Look at that. We even got people sending in the photos. You gotta love it, right?
And
exactly.
This sounds like the perfect holiday gift.
Yeah.
For Macaulay.
And looking real quick at the chat here. To Hunter's point, real quick about the NCAA. Do you think they would move to go down to Disney World and kind of do the same thing the NBA just did?
I mean, I think they already tried to do the preseason stuff down there in Orlando, and that all got knocked out because of what's going on with Florida's numbers. So people didn't want to travel. The out-of-state, quarantining stuff. Now, stuff will be different in March. I mean, the environment will be in the country technically will be totally different. There will be a vaccine by that point, and the medicines will continue to get better. The situation will be more under control. So we'll wait to see what the guidelines are at that point. I mean, they really could put it anywhere. It's just the NCAA will find a way. Even if they got to move it to May, we're gonna have May Madness, April Madness, whatever it is. We're gonna make sure that Mike Krzyzewski has postseason basketball.
Yeah,
it's happening.
Oh, it's happening. Well, I was actually thinking about that because when I was writing down my notes, I was like, well, it's gonna happen. I just like they'll because it's that point, like you said, hell or high water. They'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's figure that. We got to make it happen. That you come back on our show. It's a lot of fun tonight.
Oh, Kieran, I'm always down to come back. Well, it's big basketball season, Kieran.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I know. We should, maybe in a week or two, we'll do some college hoops preview.
Maybe some college hoops preview. I got to throw out the Ivy League preview now. Nobody really cares about how Jimmy Boeheim's going to elevate Cornell out of the basement of the Ivy League now, or how Gabe Stefanini's going to take Columbia to the next level. Nobody cares about that stuff now. Maybe I'll do a Horizon move preview.
Now we're talking. How's Temple going to look this year? Give me some good news.
You want some good news about Temple?
If it's real good news, don't. Now it's got to be organic juice.
They're in first place right now. They haven't played a game all year.
Oh no,
that's the good news there, Kieran. Kieran, I got a full Big Five preview if you want it next time. So
we got to have that.
I can break down all the Temple house for you. All the new stuff coming in there and what Aaron McKee is doing to elevate the program in North Broad, Kieran.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. This is a lot of fun. Yeah, so we'll be back then. So we might do a show on Sunday, so we'll announce that stuff on social media if we do a little bonus episode on a little football special. But if not, we'll be back on the show at our normal time on Monday at 7 o'clock. And yeah, check us out on all those other outlets.